You've grunged it out to living in the 90s. You've sung along with your kids to Kids Bop. You turned it up to Freedom Rock. Now, get ready for the softer side of cybersecurity with Sunsets and Snowdrifts, including all your favorite hits, like Don't Go Breaking My Encryption. Don't go breaking my encryption. I can't fight this phishing anymore. And I can't fight this phishing anymore. We will patch you. We will patch you. I want to know who logged this. I want to know who logged this. And who could forget, how am I supposed to live without Viciso? How am I supposed to live without Viciso? And who came up with this amazing compilation of cybersecurity hits, you might ask? It's your podcast host, Senior Sunset and Mr. Snowdrift, Evan and Kennedy.
Right. Welcome to the latest episode of Sunsets and Snowdrifts. I'm Paul Dobbins with Ostra Cybersecurity. Happy to be here with Evan and Mike. Welcome, everyone. Let's see if, we've got plenty of people in the audience today. Evan, Mike, it's always good to see that intro. And Mike, it was great to hear you sing a little bit of it as well.
I want Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, Islands in the Stream as the next one. We'll have to come up with that one.
We could sing that one together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll do a karaoke version for sure.
A truth unknown.
It could go.
Yeah.
It could go viral.
Yeah.
One reason or another. Absolutely.
Paul, you seem so like official. I feel like I should be wearing a tie right now.
Yeah, no doubt.
Should I wear a tie? I don't have a tie. Can you buy me a tie? Where do I get a tie? What the hell's a tie? How do you tie a tie?
Got a clip on, I think. I can get you a clip on one.
All right.
How long are you speaking of how long you let that beard grow?
To the floor.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Mine's getting kind of wide, so maybe I'll try to just cut these wings off and do the same with my.
Yeah, my wife makes me go to a barber every so often to get this, and then he says, "You want me to touch this?" You know better, man. No, you don't touch that. You do this, know this.
Yeah.
And get rid of all of this, because this just gets in the way of everything, man. I have to use shampoo, and I mean, without the hair, I don't even have to use shampoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, saves us money. Budget thing.
Jill was telling me that mine's getting to be a bit excessive, so she's looking for something to change. So
yeah, I get that, man. Well, it's good to see you guys, man. It's been
it's been a long time.
What
feels
how
like?
often do we do these things? Like once a month?
Well, here's what's crazy. The preliminary episodes before we started actual episode one, I was looking at the calendar, and the preliminary episodes started last year in December. And I was looking at that, and I can't believe that it's already September, and we're going to be, up in St. Paul at Hacks and Hops next week. And that first preliminary episode feels like it was yesterday. So can't believe it's already almost Q4. Shoot.
There was a preliminary episode. Was I there?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
allegedly.
We did a few times, and then we did the big launch and when we were down in Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Together.
Yeah. Mike Kennedy. I get it. Forget it.
Yeah. This one.
I was somewhere else there for a moment or 5. So what are we talking about today? Are we going to talk about security stuff or no?
Apparently. So
we carry forward with barbecue from last time too.
You want to talk about barbecue?
No. We went too much of a rabbit hole last time. Paul, stay focused.
Was that last week?
Yeah.
No, last month. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one thing that the calendar got me thinking of is, with Q4 almost upon us and people thinking about next year and all that's happened this year in the security world, both with actual cyber attacks, and also, downtime and incidents that weren't actual attacks. I wanted to put it out to you guys. What are you and your teams focused on as we head into the end of the year and as we start preparing for next year? Where are your guys' focus points right now as we look at the coming year?
That's a good question. You guys should have prepped me with this one. We should have sent the questions ahead of time, like they do in the debates. Don't they do that in the presidential debates? Like send the questions ahead of time? Is there some kind of thing about that?
Yeah, we don't have
Sometimes.
we don't have fact checkers either though. So we say
Oh,
whatever we
sweet.
want.
So we
We
can
say
say
whatever.
whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
Alright.
I'll lob one up here for you, Evan, because one thing that I was reading your latest blog, and you were talking about a couple things, but I think that the title was, and I might mispronounce this, Grok Gets Me. And I had not actually heard of Grok yet, and so I took a look around, and you had used that to create kind of an intro for you,
Mhm,
and it was surprisingly specific and surprisingly accurate.
mhm.
And actually, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And Kennedy and I were talking a little bit beforehand, just about how much how much of that is kind of going on from a social engineering standpoint. And I don't know, Kennedy, if you wanted to touch a little bit on the rise of social engineering, and if that's something that you guys are focused on right now.
Yeah, I think we're seeing it feels like from what we're seeing that the standard like business email compromise, smishing, vishing is kind of shifting, and we're seeing a lot of our customers and in internal a lot more on social engineering. It feels the use of some of the AI tools to do that as well. Are getting a little bit more sophisticated, knowing specific tools or solutions within customer environments on and how to get this I'm trying to be as vague as possible so I don't spill some things, but it's like and how it's beyond the CEO sending an email to someone asking them for a gift card. It's a phone call or an actual from the number, or it has more details and information behind it. And it's not just saying, hey, go get me a gift card. It's talking about, hey, we have this event going on. We need this. And then they're tying it to two or different, three or things within the business. So that these, AI tools or what used to take, I guess, me a couple hours to go through and build those personas on who I was going to go target. Now I can shorten that with a little bit of, chat GPT or, Grok, some AI tool. So
Yeah, I think, we it's funny because every year you kind of go through this. Every year you think, oh, what's the newest thing? What's the latest thing? What's the whatever? So you have one foot kind of in, the key to, in my opinion, the key is always to information security has always been situational awareness. It's understanding the situation you're in, understanding what's going on around you, understanding, the threats, your weaknesses, ultimately it's risk management. But, so you have to know what's coming because it's part of the situation. So it's always this one foot in like, okay, what's coming? But then my foot is still stuck in, we have to do the basics still. We're never going to be able to actually get ahead until we take care of what's behind us. The things that we neglected over the years, like, asset management, asset inventory, like communication with, executives, like accountability, so it's like my one leg, the leg the leg that's in the future is like really short, but that other leg is like super freaking long now. Being an old timer, it's
yeah.
So how do you mix it together? I think one of the things I was working on, this morning, prior to this, is writing the communications course, for, the CVC. So,
Mhm.
and every time I do this, I learn, I think the best way to master anything is to teach it. Then you realize how much you really didn't know about what you thought you knew. And so, so I think communication is going to be a big thing for me next year, trying to figure out, know my audience, figure out how to get the point across, use things like analogies better, try to be concise, not use acronyms, you know what I mean? We're still not getting people's attention. So I think I'm going to be working more focused on that. But yeah, also like Mike, we have to keep our eyes open on what's AI going to do? What are deep fakes going to do here?
Yeah.
It's super dangerous. The thing is, we just continue to adopt new technologies faster than our ability to use them responsibly. And so it just more and more and more stuff, just pile it on. At the end of the day, it's all lipstick on the pig. The pig's still ugly. We got to fix it. So
More tools, it's tool sprawl. But like you said in the past, that shit still goes on. And legacy products. I kind of like that where you're going with the communication. When one of the things I do when I sit in the deer stand every year and I'm staring out at the woods waiting for something to bound across, is I start reflecting on the last year and the improvements that I can make personally, as well as how do we, and we were talking about that before, I was leaders that we can impact. And you're right, that communication, it's been forefront for me as well, being able to talk to the business rather, because I'm used to talking to tech geeks. And so I can talk tech all day long. But pulling that back out and understanding more, not for just from a business drivers, financial impact, but like what you and I were talking about a couple of months ago about our moms and how they're susceptible. My neighbors, when they come up to me and say, hey, what should we be doing? It's like, don't use your debit card. It's always the first thing I say. Don't use your debit card. They're like, well, what? And you explain it away, but then it's creating those analogies, like you said, of the one that's most well, anyway, I'm tangenting off. Well, the one that was most fascinating for it, Paul and I have been talking about, is this the marketing group that's been listening to our phones and the acceptable use policies and all that stuff that we click on. So we had this idea that it'd be kind of fun to go through all of those and highlight them. And so we'll probably hopefully have a blog that'll come out that maybe we'll talk about some of those and what people are not paying attention to. And it kind of feeds back into that communication you talked about. But yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
we kind of want to find the craziest shit that we're actually like saying you can do, and we don't even know it. Yeah.
do you ever feel like, sometimes it makes me feel like I'm crazy, because I think like if no, I call them normal people because I'm not, but if normal people saw the world the way I saw the world,
Oh, fuck.
information security, you'd freak out and you'd demand changes. You demand accountability. You would demand better laws for, managing these things. But there's just this ignorance, about it all. I still get asked questions like, somebody that found out I did information security. Oh, what did you think about, that big breach? And it was the general, whatever the data, whatever the hell it was. I mean, I don't even pay attention anymore to those.
No.
And they said, does that breach upset you? And I'm like, not really. I mean, all of it upsets me. And they're like, why not? I mean, what should I do? I'm like, well, freeze your credit, Oh yeah, I do that. Well, that's about all you can do. But doesn't it upset that your social security number is out there? I'm like, my social security number has been out there for years.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Really? I'm like, yeah, it has. And that's the frustrating, part of a lot of this. But then, you know, what we traditionally do, I think, is we'll blame them, right? How many times have you heard an information security person call a user stupid?
Yeah.
They're not stupid. They're
No.
not stupid. Get that out of your damn head. They're not stupid. You're not communicating well. You're not making it relevant to them. They don't see themselves in the dialogue, in the story. So figure it out, right? So I think there's so much that, because you can predict what's going to happen. So much of the stuff that we do, it's linear.
Right.
When you
Yep.
look at it like logic and mathy and whatever, it's all linear. It's a lot of linears, right? But they're linear and they're all going in the same sort of direction. And the end result there is a critical mass, and it's going to flipping hurt. It's really, really, really going to hurt. Now, the way people work, people typically only change their behaviors. And I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who has a son who is an addict. And he's making all kinds of really shitty choices, right? Like addicts do. And he's going to be charged with a crime. And the crime that he's going to get charged with is theft by swindle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, he calls me because he knows that, you know, I've done a lot of stupid things, you know, over the years and whatever. And they want to protect him from going to jail. He's never been to jail, right? And it's going to destroy his life. And they're like, what should we do? And I'm like, let him go to jail and keep him there until he learns, you know, learns to be responsible. That's how people operate. It's either I see the benefit in something, right? So if I do this
Right.
one thing, I'm going to make a ton of money, or I'm going to become famous, or I'm going to be whatever, right? So that motivates me. I'm going to go do it that, or it hurts. It hurts too much. The pain hurts too much. And so I change my behavior, right? Otherwise, people just kind of generally just keep cycling. So that point is that critical mass, that's going to hurt. And you don't want people to hurt. We don't want people to get hurt. We want to save them from getting hurt. That's why we're here. But when that hurt happens, then everybody's going to want, why the hell didn't we do anything about this?
Right.
Why didn't anybody tell us? It's like, shit, I've written so many damn blog posts, I don't even know what to do with them.
Yeah. The canaries have been squawking for decades about that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So I would love like the general population to be like, demand change. Demand Microsoft to make quality software. You know, demand people to stop selling you shit that you don't need.
Right.
And in any other like
And protect your
part
data.
of my life, if you sold me
Yeah.
something, if you sold me a product and that product hurt me, or that product killed me, you're liable for that. In our industry, patch it. No, we don't just patch it. Create some good shit. I understand that we need to maintain things. I understand that, you know, we didn't do oil changes in our cars and, you know, change tires and be responsible like that. But when you create a faulty product, where's the accountability for it? You know,
I really get hung up on the accountability for, you know, the data. You know, I'm sharing you need my data, you know, my birth date, my address, my social security number, my billing information, and then you don't protect your systems and allow that to get compromised. Now everybody has access to my bank accounts, credit cards, social security number, medical history, home address, family history, kids, and then all I get is credit monitoring.
right.
Well, I have so many decades. I have 5
Yeah.
lifetimes of credit monitoring available that it's just, and all of us have that because of every single one of those.
Here's the thing with credit histories, right? I get born and you give me a number.
Yep.
I didn't ask for this number. I didn't create this number. I don't even want this damn number, but you gave it to me. And so I have it. And then every time I go to borrow money or I go to do something, you know, financial, You create a record associated with that number. Again, I didn't want it. I didn't create it, but I get it. It's part of, me being responsible with the loan and everything. And then when I don't pay my bills, it gets reported, and you've got these aggregators, right? The 3 credit bureaus that aggregate the records of who's actually making payments, who's not making payments, and whatever. So they're the maintainers of these records. Why is it my responsibility to make sure that the records that you're maintaining about me are accurate? That's not my job. You maintain the damn records. You collect the records. It's your job to make sure that they're accurate. But when somebody steals my identity, again, I didn't do anything. Somebody broke into, 3389, pivoted, got into the database, stole my credit, whatever, however you got it. And then you use that, and now it all falls on me to go fix it.
Right. It's your fault.
It's not, that's the thing.
Right.
And so the accountability thing is like such a big piece of all of this, right? We tell people, like businesses, you need to secure information. Well, they kind of half-ass it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? What's the damage to them if they do there's no damage.
Right.
There's nothing
No.
bad that happens to them. I mean, look at CrowdStrike.
Yeah. It's the customer's fault.
It was a mistake. I get it. And I'm
Yeah.
not, it just was top of mind. So I'm not picking particularly on CrowdStrike, but that was a really shitty development and business practice that led to a whole bunch of losses. And I get it might be an accident, but if I go drive my car and accidentally run somebody over, am I not liable for that?
Yep.
Yeah, probably. So it's like in this whole cyber world, the lack of accountability is probably the biggest frustration, because you do collect all my data.
Yeah.
You use VPNs, right, Mike?
Yep. Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
use VPNs. And so you browse, it's my phone. You browse the internet with a VPN on, and how many websites do I go to that basically tell me that the website, you can't come here because,
Oh yeah.
because you're blocking our tracking.
Yeah.
Well, I want to block your damn tracking. Why do you want to track me? I just wanted to see what was going on in Pennsylvania today.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So Paul, did you answer your question, what we're working on?
Well, I think you did with the blocking and tackling. I think, I guess going down that route with blocking and tackling, I think with some of the things that have happened that were incidents that weren't cyber attacks, does it feel like we're so concerned about the attacks that we're not blocking and tackling for the rest of the business, and maybe that's why some of these things are happening? We're not paying attention to, best practices that are blocking and tackling.
Yeah, I think I think lots of people do things and don't ask themselves why they're doing things.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think there's a lot of herd mentality, especially when things, when you don't understand things. It's like, well, everybody's doing this thing. Well, then I should do this too. So I think there's some of that. I don't think there's any major push from anybody with power necessarily to push accountability. To actually, like, if you don't want to learn this stuff, we'll force you to learn this stuff, kind of thing.
Right.
So then you try to get creative and try to figure out, well, can we use information security to actually provide value to your business? And you can for sure, but mostly the reason why you can is because you've been doing it wrong for so long.
Right.
As opposed to like, this actually is a moneymaker for you kind of thing. So yeah, there's the blocking and tackling. I don't see, I don't, in most cases, I don't think there is just a really good business strategy around why they're doing information security. So I don't know if there's blocking and tackling, or they just do it because everybody has this. So I did it too.
I think there's pockets of people that it's drivers, business drivers, they see the value. I think vendors forget sometimes on the blocking and tackling. because they're more focused on the revenue generation and how to get those, how to drive that versus pausing and coming back and doing the blocking and tackling, and then, that, not selling more shit. But then as businesses too, you're right. It's, I think some of it is the focus, or the people that are trying to punish or try to create lawsuits. I think sometimes they're looking at the wrong individuals. They're not looking at the right decision makers, the culture that gets pushed down from the top versus the individuals inside the organization. It's your fault because you configured, you were an intern and you configured that server with SolarWinds 1, 2, 3, but you weren't trained, it wasn't a culture that was created in the organization to train and have password compliance. And so,
Now,
I look at
does
blocking and tackling.
Does blocking and tackling, is that a term that comes from football?
Yep.
so
Appropriate since football's starting up this week, right?
Well, yeah, because I would block and tackle according to plays, right?
Mhm.
And the plays would be part of a
Yep.
game plan. So what would blocking and tackling be if you didn't have a game plan or set plays? That's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of guys
What-
running around, just blocking and tackling each
Just-
other.
Randomly, yeah.
Like, where's the ball?
Yeah.
a
Shit.
5-year-old soccer game. Remember that with the kids when they play the soccer
They
when
just all
they're
go to
running
the ball.
the ball's running around. There's that crowd that falls, and then you have the one kid that kind of knows it's doing something. But yeah, that's the analogy of, instead of blocking and tackling, where as an industry, a bunch of
Instead of blocking and
5-year-olds.
tackling, it's like WWF or WWE.
Yeah.
Just too much, but on a football field.
Well, and I think both those analogies, and I don't know if this is going to make sense or not, so bear with me, but I was listening also to something that you said a podcast or two ago, when these incidents happen and you talk about accountability and they have these hearings and such. They're calling all the wrong people, right? They're calling the people from the companies that had this stuff happen, and they're not calling folks who actually know what the hell should have happened and that are agnostic to the situation, right? One thing that I've heard you talk about a lot, Evan, is some of the stuff that you've done with the state of Minnesota and how you've kind of helped them do things and look at things much differently and kind of get around some of the red tape and talk to them in like layman's terms. My question would be, how does that, like, one, how'd you do that? Two, how does that change get implemented on a bigger level? Like, how do we stop that mob mentality? Like, it's almost like what made me think of it was everyone just goes to the bright, shiny object. Everyone wants to find out what happened at those organizations, and everyone treats it like the WWE, like it's this big theatrical production, rather than actually, to your point, getting shit done like you've been doing.
Well, some days are better than others, on the
Right.
get shit done thing for sure. I think, and this is advice, I would offer to anybody, is always tell the truth. Always. Even if you feel intimidated, even if, you feel like you're gonna, lose your job, you feel like, they're not gonna like me. That's whatever. So that's one of the things that's always helped me to sleep well at night, is I told the truth. And I did the best I could. I made the best decisions I could. And so when you see things that are broken, because there's two types of lies too, right? I mean, I've said that before. You've got lies of commission, you've got lies of omission. A lie of commission is I straight up tell you something that ain't true. The lie of commission or omission is I didn't tell you something I should have told you. And so when you hire me as somebody whose job it is to provide you good advice, to protect you, whatever, and I don't tell you something I was supposed to tell you, I didn't do my job and I shouldn't get paid for it. And, and I should honestly be ashamed in some sense. And so and that's something you just learn over the years. I think for people that are newer in this industry, I get it. It takes a while to get, credibility and whatever. But that's what it started with the state of Minnesota and others, it comes down to not being biased either. I mean, I'm not motivated by money. I want you to do the right thing because I know that if you do the right thing, we're all going to benefit for it. So it's a lot. And then in terms of, I'll do that. Everybody should always do that too, right? Always ask why. Why? If you don't know why, ask why. Don't assume you know why, ask why. So when they would do something, why are you doing that? And I'm not asking because I'm just trying to be a jerk. I'm asking because I need to understand it. So those are the two things I would say. Number one, always tell the truth. Be true to you. Like you tell yourself the truth. Don't try to be somebody that you're not, because it's only a matter of time for that's going to backfire.
Yeah.
So number one, tell the truth. Number two, what the hell was number two? I already said it. Tell the truth. And number two, ask why. There you go. Always ask why.
Ask why.
Do that.
And not to be a jerk, but to understand. Yep.
Yeah, sometimes you want to be a jerk too,
Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to get the point across.
Yeah. I mean, Michael, you've done some sweet things over the years. What kind of advice would you have on the same kind of
same thing
fronts, especially in
honesty?
Yeah.
Honesty is number one. Always, I agree. Always tell the truth. If you don't know something, then say you don't know something. Ask. There's plenty of people. I've been in hundreds of rooms where an acronym will fly out and I'm like, well, what is that acronym? And then 5 other people don't know what that acronym is. Or the person who even said the acronym is like, I don't know. I thought that's what we were talking about. Having that and the remembering those pieces, the humility behind it as well. Yeah, I come from, my initial in IT and infrastructure 25 years ago was help desk desktop. And I learned that why question. It was like, why did it do that? Why does that happen? Why are we doing this? Why, and that is core to, everybody that I've always worked with too, is you want to ask that question. Just don't take something at face value just because somebody told you it. You need to understand it more. The other side of it is, and we've touched on a little bit, is the accountability. Being accountable, taking ownership. It fits in with the honesty. It fits in with the other pieces too. But those are key. Whenever I go into a situation and in a meeting with someone and they're telling me stuff, it's never bad to be asking the questions. If you don't understand something, ask it, because there's always somebody else that doesn't know more than you do, or doesn't know either. And then you show, you set that perception that they have of you, that you're not going to create a perception that you're a pretentious prick in I guess kind of the Minnesota, the Midwestern, because I'm not from Minnesota, I'm from farm kid from Iowa, that that perception you're creating is the authenticity of you. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
It feels good to be you.
Oh my God. I don't have to have that crazy shit that goes in here to remember those lies that I told you last week or told you last month, or I sold you something, or, I presented myself in a way that was fake or false. I don't have to spend that cycle thinking about all that shit. And, you talked about like maturity in the industry, or, being old men. But at the same time, anybody can have that that thought process and bring that in. It's not, years of industry experience that I've learned. Industry experience has just taught me to go from Ask Jeeves to Yahoo to searching in Google to doing my OSINT research. So and now
Ask
whatever
Jeeves.
AI
Good
Ask
throwback.
Jeeves.
Good throwback.
Ask
I like that
Jeeves.
one.
That was a good one. Well, and that's like advice you can give to anybody. You know, you can give that
Yeah.
advice to somebody who's brand new in this industry. You can give this advice
Yeah.
to somebody who's not even in this industry. Number
Correct.
one, be true to yourself, tell the truth. Uh, uh,
Be
always
authentic.
ask why, be curious. I mean, that's the hacker mentality anyway.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
always asking why. Even though I do random stuff all the time, and sometimes I forget to ask myself why I'm doing. There was somewhere in the back of my brain a justification for it. I just didn't. I don't know what it is anymore.
Yeah.
I might have
I
forgotten.
get that with that. I get that
But
with the kids, or in some people that I'm doing something like, and then they ask me, why am I doing it? I'm like, oh, well, then I have to watch as a parent not to go into a fucking 20-minute monologue on how I got to this point on the why, but give them enough
yeah.
detail of, okay, this is why we do that type of thing. So
I do have a question
Well,
along those lines for you guys.
and one more thing, just real quick, Paul, that I want to
Yeah.
point out too, is because I tell people, like, where you lack credibility, borrow somebody else's. Use a quote that I said, use a quote that Michael said, whatever, right? So where you lack the credibility, because then when you get challenged, you can say, well, that's what they said. And then, you know what I mean? Then it kind of deflects a little bit. That's a good tip. And then on the second thing, it's, shoot, I forgot, but it was something really important, but you missed out on it. You don't get it anymore. And I don't either.
You'll remember it here in a minute. You'll remember it. But in
tomorrow.
the meantime, I do have a question about the why and some of the things that you guys do as it relates to this industry. There are some things that you probably do different. You mentioned, end users not being stupid, and we need to stop that. But some people probably look at some things that you guys might do as being different or weird or odd. There are some things that I do that are different because I'm in the industry or because I've been around tech for so long. Are there any specific things that you can think of that you do differently because you're around this, that you could share with us? That I know there's one, Kennedy, that I've mentioned recently that you've mentioned a couple of times, that from a car perspective, there's one that I'm notorious for. I get called grandpa all the time for doing it. But are there interesting things that you guys do because of what what you've experienced in the industry, just on a day-to-day basis?
I have no social media. I
Yeah.
LinkedIn because of work,
Yep.
but which
Yeah,
really
we forced
sucks
you.
because
Yeah.
we got forced into it. I wouldn't have LinkedIn, which really sucks because every time I want to go on and buy something, I'm a big Craigslist guy, but not a marketplace. And my wife won't let me use her marketplace because she doesn't want that stuff in her feeds. I very always overly paranoid about the house being secure and locked and paying attention to everything. I walk my entire house in the dark and not run into anything. Um, so little nuances. I'm very big into, like Paul mentioned, the car, a non-computerized vehicle. Being able to, and then also I think something that I think is, this is getting into some deep shit. That's, as a society, I think we forget about repairing things. So everything is a throwaway, and the old stuff usually works better. So I'm really, I love 2-cycle. I work on a lot of non-tech related stuff. So I have that skill set of where you could drop me in the woods somewhere and I would be 100% fine. No tech, no nothing. I could, direction off the stars, could get my own water, which is kind of weird like that. So
I remember when the big cell phone outage happened, Kennedy was like, come on up. And I was like, I might.
Yep. Plenty of room and lots of ammo. It's all you need is more ammo than your neighbors. So
Evan, how about you?
I'm a ADHD guy, so I think the one thing I'm able to put things into perspective, I think a little bit more than people who aren't in this industry, just because I know cause and effect pretty well. Like these things are going to happen, you prepare for it, which is along the same lines as what, Michael's saying, because that creates a skill set of you can adjust, you can adapt, you can cope, we had the hurricane last October, which, we didn't have water for a long time. I mean, I was already prepared for it. And I'm not a prepper, like in the weird sense, but
right. Yeah.
You can take inventory of the things that are really important in your life and prioritize things, so like when there's a phone outage, I'm celebrating. I'm like, hell
Right.
yes. No calls,
Kinda
no
nice.
meetings, no texts. I can just go do my thing. And I wish more people had that less reliance on technology. It's not the end all be all, but you do have to take it, put it in perspective and take it into account. But which is sad, because I think a lot of people and a lot of younger folks, if you took away their phone, and there's actually studies on this, if you take away their phone, they suffer from some serious anxiety. There's mental issues with it. I mean, can you drive from here to like downtown someplace without your phone? Like find the direction in a place you've never been before. That's kind of a hidden art, that people can't do anymore.
Wife used to get mad at me because I would purposely not use navigation when we lived in St. Louis. And funny, I could get anywhere in St. Louis because I would get lost on purpose. And it is kind of a lost art.
Well, and if you want to learn how to drive without navigation, just drive anywhere in Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you try to use the map and forget about it. You better just driving somewhere.
I think the important thing there is that we all have our own personal level of risk acceptance. And, and you and I talked about this a couple of months ago, Evan, about, so I'm anti-social media, you have some Twitter, you have some other stuff, because your level of acceptance of the risk is different than mine. And not only just the risk, but also I have other, like the other aspects of I think social media is horrible for our culture. But then, like, I have a friend who went into his phone and deleted everybody's name. We talk about driving without directions. He deleted everybody's name out of his phone. So it was just phone numbers. And it was funny because he asked me, because I know his number, but he asked, like, what's so-and-so's phone number? And I'm like, I don't know. I just tell my iPhone to call them. And he's like, if you lost your phone, what would you do? So he wanted to train himself on knowing phone numbers.
That's interesting.
So he went through and just deleted, it's 200 and some contacts.
Wow.
And then of course he had to put some of them back over time, but there was this kind of, he thought it would be a fun thing to do.
Well, see, that's
and he's got it.
I think information security people, one of the biggest mistakes we make, as a CISO, a vCISO, whatever, is your inability to put risk into context. So yes, you and I have different risk tolerance. And so some people, like security people, I think, that don't understand how this works really, will say, well, how dare you use social media? That's dangerous. That's crazy. For you, that's correct. For me, it's not correct. and so you judge like one being better than the other. The only better or worse than the other is understanding the risk or not understanding the risk.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when you do these things, when you understand the risk, you have not mitigating, what you can't prevent, you detect, and what you detect, you respond to. So you play that game out. So how do I use social media? What do I use it for? Does that, do the benefits outweigh the risks of using it? What are the risks? Well, somebody could get my account and post something as me. Okay, how would I respond to that? Somebody could, whatever, right? You just go through mentally what things you would do, and then you make the risk decision yourself. That's the point. And
Yep.
so having a control in place or not having a control in place is not the point. The point is, do you understand the risk of having a control in place versus not having a control in place? And are you comfortable with it? That's the point.
Yep.
Because if you go down the other path, then that will be the path that we're heading down. Because if you're not going to do the responsible thing, eventually somebody's going to force you to do the responsible thing, which means they're going to force you to implement controls because it's conformance, right? These control.
Yeah.
And so then you start to lose your individuality, right? So it becomes like a really scary place if you keep going down this path we're going down versus, well, maybe I'll just sit and look around and be like, yeah, I should think about shit before I do shit. That would be smart. That would be good advice. Think about shit before you do shit.
Mhm. I like that.
Now I thought about the higher level because I do have ADHD, so I just do a whole bunch of shit and I don't think about it.
Yeah.
But on a deeper level, I do know what I would do about it. I don't know, man. Oh, the other thing I was going to remind people is, when asking why, because I think a lot of the information security industry, especially for newer people, can feel really intimidating,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're all so damn smart and whatever. It's all bullshit.
All
But
bullshit.
what I want to encourage people that feel uncomfortable challenging people that have been in this industry for a long time is challenge people who've been in this industry for a long time. I want people to ask me why. If I give you this advice and it doesn't make sense, ask me why. Don't just do what I told you to do. You need to understand the purpose of why I'm asking you to do what, because then you'll own it.
Yeah.
You understand how it fits. You understand, and you'll keep that habit going versus just doing what I told you to do. I mean, give me your damn wallet then. If we're going to play that game, but ask why. Ask why. Always ask why. Because, and I beg for it. Like, you need to ask why, because, especially at this stage of my career where I feel like I need to leave as much wisdom behind as possible, so that you don't repeat a lot of the same stupid stuff that I did. But yeah, ask why. Ask your CISO why. If your CISO's asking you to do something, why? See, especially in a really big enterprise company.
Yeah.
And then when you're looking for a job, maybe we'll have one for you somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the challenge, I think a lot of times too, I see the challenge, there's good actors in that and bad actors, right? Because they think it's a challenge to be an asshole and try to fight. It's just, we just need to get along, and we're all here for the same stuff.
Right.
So,
well, shouldn't we ask ourselves, why are you in this game?
right. Yeah. Ourselves.
Why are you doing information security for a living? What's the purpose of you being here? Is it to make money? Okay, great. I mean, that's a purpose, right? So figure out how to enable that. But if your purpose is to serve, because believe it or not, this is a service industry. This is not a product industry. This is a service industry. So our job is to serve, right? Serve who? Well, the people who pay us, honestly. They serve each other. Because I get that, going back to when newer people in this industry ask, or say they want to be a CISO. Why? Why do you want to be a CISO? What's the purpose? Why are you in this game?
Right.
Well, because, I can, be the authority, whatever. Because if I asked you the question, you're probably going to tell me what I want to hear anyway. you know what I mean? As opposed to telling me what the real answer is.
Right.
The real answer,
Yep.
because I could be the man, I can be the woman, I can be the person in power. That's a shitty reason to be a CISO.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no. You want the power, but not the accountability. And that's not
Right.
going to give you, that's not going to create VCSO opportunities because it's going to get seen and you're not going to be well respected in that.
I have a friend who's looking for, you know, he's a CISO and was laid off. And yeah, he's looking for another job. And so we've talked a lot about this, like, you know, for that connection, you know, being able to explain why you're here, how it's going to benefit the person that's going to use your services or pay you, right? And yeah, I mean, and have it be true, obviously, you know, that's so key for what we're doing. And hopefully it'll serve him well.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate it, guys. And there are two things that I wanted to kind of wrap up with, and I think that was a good segue to it. Next week, I mentioned at the beginning, next week, speaking of InfoSec and conferences and networking and CISOs and all that good stuff, up in St. Paul, FR Secure is hosting its annual Hacks and Hops. So anyone on here who is interested and has not already signed up for that, it's hacksandhops.com. And happy to mention that this podcast will be joining up with the Unsecurity podcast there. We'll be doing a live studio audience podcast at that event. And then we will broadcast that to a broader audience on YouTube or online.
Am I doing that too?
Afterwards? What's that?
Yeah.
I
And I think
Yep.
Brad and Oscar and
nice.
Yep.
I like
I
those
know
guys.
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So 2 weeks in a row, we'll get to do one of these episodes. So, and then I know, Evan, you aren't expecting this, but I know that you are launching another podcast as well, correct? Coming up later this month.
Be a guest. Yeah.
I know. I saw that. So episode 1, it looks like is launching on the 19th with Ryan, and then episode 2, Kennedy's going to be on, correct?
Yeah.
So, and I believe that is called InfoSec 2. What's the title? Insanity?
InfoSec to Insanity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So if anybody
Your life
ever
stories.
watched the shit show, the security shit show, you know, that
Yep.
was me, Ryan, and Chris Roberts, and it was awesome. Yeah, long story. It's so mentally good to get shit off your chest and to be validated by, you know, people that you trust. And so it'll be a lot of talking like this about specific topics and just getting real. You know, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, I know I'm looking forward to it, and it sounds like it's going to be at 9 p.m. Central on those dates. So look forward to that, and that can be found on your website. So very cool. Any parting words before we sign off?
I think you guys are awesome, and it's always good to see you.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well.
Absolutely.
same.
And we'll see you guys next week in person.
Yeah. Can't
I'm
wait.
excited.
All right. Looking forward to it.
All right.
Thanks, gentlemen.
You guys.
Have a
Yep.
good
Take care,
afternoon.
guys.
See you
See ya.
guys.